What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Draft Hub. Today, we are going to be taking a look at my first official mock draft of the 2025 NFL season. Now, this is coming out on Monday, so there is one game still left to play, but we have been officially basically through week one of the 2025 NFL season. So I wanted to give my first mock draft. Now, this isn't in the order of what it would be after week one. I think it's kind of silly to do all that kind of stuff because, like, then you have the Ravens and the Bills who are playing later on tonight. And if the Ravens lose or if the Bills lose, then you're going to have them with a top 10 pick. And we all know that those teams are not going to have top 10 picks. So this is just a look at where I'm at. This is kind of like a combination of where these prospects are stock wise so far in the 2026 draft cycle, and really where I think that they would fit best as of right now. So we are going to use PFF's draft order that they gave us. This is what it looks like right now. So the Browns at 1, Saints at 2, Giants, Jets at 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. So without further delay, we're going to get into it. Before we do get into it, I just want to say, if you do love content like this, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're moving right along, closing in on 350. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Closing in on 350 subs, trying to get to that illustrious 1,000 plateau, and you could help today with that. So I appreciate any support that you guys can throw my way. And without further delay, let's get into it. So in PFF's draft order, they do have the Cleveland Browns at number 1 overall. And if the Cleveland Browns are selecting number 1 overall, they do have 2 first-round picks. They have pick number 1 in this mock draft and pick number 10. So 2 top 10 picks. You best believe, especially if you're drafting at number 1. Really, for me, if you're drafting inside the top 5 or really the top 3, you probably should be looking at the quarterback carousel. We're going to go with Drew Aller here for the Cleveland Browns. I just think Aller is, now this is tough. For me, if you ask me personally what my quarterback room looks like, I would probably say my top 5, we're excluding Arch Manning from this draft, by the way, because I don't know why he's still here. I think he's made it pretty clear that he's going to be going back to Texas after this season. I don't think he's going to be winning any Heisman Trophy. I don't think Texas is going to be winning the national title. I think there's plenty of reason for him to go back. But I guess I would say my top 5, or at least 5 quarterbacks in no particular order would be Aller, Nussmeier, Sellers, Klubnik, and Sawyer Robertson would probably be my top 5 guys as of right now. I really do think Sawyer Robertson is going to be one of those huge. And I forgot Fernando Mendoza. So I guess top 6 would be that. But Aller, I think, is the true total package of what NFL teams look for. He's got the unbelievable size, 6'5", 235 plus pounds, rocket of an arm, excellent athletic ability for his size. His downfield, really his accuracy to all 3 levels tends to kind of be a little inconsistent, but really I don't think that's anything that can't be smoothed over with a little coaching. And what are the Cleveland Browns known for other than great coaching and great massages? So I think Aller would make the most sense. I think he is the most physically appealing to NFL teams. And then you have the New Orleans Saints at number 2 overall, and we're going to back that quarterback selection up with another one. We're going to take Lenoris Sellers here at number 2 for the New Orleans Saints. I truly think that when it comes down to it, towards the end of the draft cycle, we're going to be looking at a competition between 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that could legitimately go number 1 overall. And I do think Lenoris Sellers, he's got off to a very, very impressive start to the season. Up until this point, he takes care of the football. He's very accurate. He's unbelievably athletic. He's probably the most athletic quarterback, or at least the highly touted quarterback in this draft class. A cannon of an arm. Really, I just think the only thing that nags against him is really the overall experience, but he's going to have a full starting season under his belt again this year for South Carolina. I think he's going to be more than ready to be an NFL signal caller when it's all said and done. I think he is the total package. And I know that Kellen Moore and the Saints did spend a top 40 pick on Tyler Shuck. this past year, but I mean, really, when you have the caliber of player that Lenore Sellers is, or any of these quarterbacks that are really highly touted, I think you cannot pass up on any of those talents. And number three in this mock draft with the PFF's draft order, you have the New York Giants here, and I'm going to go with maybe a little bit of a wild card here for this pick. We're going to address the offensive line. At least in the preseason, it looked like Jackson Dart was very impressive. It looked like he could truly be the future franchise signal caller for the New York Giants. So, what do you do when you have an initial investment? Because they invested a lot in him, they traded back into the first round to take him in 2025. You're all in on this investment. You go, you protect your investment. Now, ever since Andrew Thomas signed that big extension, he really just hasn't been able to stay on the field. But when he is on the field and when he is healthy, he's probably a top 3, top 5 left tackle in football. Jermaine Illuminor has actually been surprisingly okay for the New York Giants since he signed here as a free agent, but he is a free agent after this year. I would think that you're looking to upgrade the position. You're looking to upgrade the right tackle position, and I think Caleb Lomu is honestly the best right tackle prospect in this draft class. I think Francis Mauigoa is really good as well. Really good. I just think Lomu has the overall unbelievable athleticism that you're looking for, especially the Giants, where they like to have their tackles get up into the second level. I think Lomu is probably the most athletic tackle, or at least up there as one of the top athletic tackles in the entire game. So I know it's super high to take a predominantly right tackle, but hey, the Jets just did it with Armand Membu, and they were picking at number 7. So really, what's an extra few spots up? And especially if that's what you need to get. And I think to really solidify this offensive line, probably interior, maybe looking at another center. John Michael Schmitz hasn't really worked out for the Giants, but the right tackle position needs to be solidified. You have Andrew Thomas, and as long as he can stay healthy, and also Lomu also has the size and strength to be able to kick out to left tackle as well. And I'm really, you could go between Lomu and Spencer Fano, to be quite honest with you, as guys that could flip flop to the other sides of the line. But I'm going to take Lomu here in this mock draft at number 3. I know it's very high, but I'm very high on Lomu. You have my New York Jets, who just tragically lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Pittsburgh Steelers 34-32. They're at number 4 overall in this mock draft. And I did the preparation for this mock draft before the NFL games started in week 1. And I didn't expect Justin Fields to ball out as well as he did. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He threw for over 200 yards. He had a passing touchdown. Looked really good in that Tanner Engstrand offense. But I'm going to stick to my guns because it's 1 week and I'm not going to completely overreact just yet. And we're going to take Cade Klubnik here. I think if you could put Cade Klubnik's overall ability to throw the football, his processing skills, his ability to go through his progressions, his overall athleticism. I mean, athleticism, you give the edge to Fields. There's no doubt about that. But arm, accuracy, overall processing skills, you give it to Klubnik. What we've seen from this Tanner Engstrand offense, if you could transform Fields into Cade Klubnik, I think you have truly an unbelievable facilitator in Cade Klubnik in this offense. So I know it's just 1 week. I know Justin Fields played awesome. So this could very well change by next week, especially if he has a similar performance again. I'm going to roll with this pick for now. I don't want to overreact, but I think Klubnik would be unbelievable in New York with Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand as his head coach and offensive coordinator. So we're going to take Klubnik here at number 4. At number 5, you have the Tennessee Titans. Pretty straightforward here. The Tennessee Titans desperately need help off the edge, and Ruben Bain Jr. has been unbelievable through 2 weeks of football. Granted, it was Long Island University. They played in week 1, and then they played USF. They lost to US. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Miami, not Florida. Sorry, apologize on that. They played Notre Dame in week 1. He was awesome. They played Bethune-Cookman this past week. He was awesome as well. I think at the time of recording, he's a 92.5 overall pass rushing grade so far this year. He has an interception to his name as well. He's unbelievably athletic. He's completely disruptive. I think he would be a fantastic addition to that defensive front that already boasts Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat. So we're going to get Ruben Bain Jr. here at number 5. At number 6, we're going to take Caleb Downs. I just feel like this, outside of J.C. Horn, I feel like this Panthers secondary is just severely lacking talent. And Caleb Downs is quite literally one of the most impressive safety prospects I've ever seen. Normally, I cringe at the idea of taking a safety or a linebacker or a running back inside the top 10. But when you have a prospect that's as unbelievably good as Caleb Downs, you have to take him regardless of where you're drafting. Honestly, you could make a case that if the right team falls into the number one overall slot, you could. I'm not saying that they would, but you could take Caleb Downs at number one, and I don't think it would be a bad pick. So Caleb Downs is the pick for the Carolina Panthers. I see that pick made quite a bit, and that's just one that I think just makes a lot of sense. So why try and be controversial and go against it? And number 7, you have the Las Vegas Raiders here, coming off of an impressive victory in Week 1 of the New England Patriots. Especially impressive because their defense was able to hold the Patriots to just 13 points. That's a really, really good sign because this defense, especially in the secondary, is lacking. And I still think, even though he's not necessarily up to speed yet, I still think Jermod McCoy, even coming off of the ACL injury, is still, when healthy, the best cornerback in this entire draft class. When he comes back and he is fully healthy and fully a go for Tennessee, I think he's going to show that week in and week out. And I think that this Las Vegas Raiders secondary desperately needs. I know that they drafted Darian Porter. They have DeCamerion Richardson, Caillou Kelly, Blue Kelly, whatever his name is, Caillou Kelly Blue, something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. That you need a one. You need a number one. They lost Nate Hobbs in the offseason. They really didn't do much to replace replenish what they lost in the secondary. So we're going to take Jermod McCoy here at number 7 for the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 8, I understand that maybe the interior of the defensive line for the Chicago Bears isn't necessarily a humongous need. They drafted Shamar Turner. He's one of those hybrids that could play off the edge. He could play inside. They still have Gervon Dexter. They have Zach Pickens still, I'm pretty sure. They signed Grady Jarrett. So they don't necessarily need interior defensive line help. But if a player of Peter Woods' caliber falls into your lap, and over the past few years, the interior defensive line has come into question quite a bit, I don't think you hesitate. I think you draft that player. So the Bears lend an unbelievable interior defensive prospect in Peter Woods, who is as disruptive as a player as I've seen in college football since Jalen Carter, and that's dangerous territory in terms of speeding and spitting. But Peter Woods is an unbelievable player, and I think he'd be a fantastic addition to that front 7 of the Chicago Bears. Now, moving on to number 9, you have the Indianapolis Colts. Hold the phone here on this pick. Is Daniel Jones back? Is Danny Dimes back playing great football again, if he ever was? Unbelievable game from 272 passing yards, a touchdown. He had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. He played awesome against Miami in Week 1. But again, similar thought process with the Jets is the same thought process I'm going to have here with the Indianapolis Colts. It's Week 1. I'm not going to overreact. I'm going to stick to my guns. We're going to take Fernando Mendoza here. I think Mendoza would be absolutely dynamite in this Indianapolis Colts offense. He is 6'5", 225 pounds, whips a ball like he's this draft class has some unbelievable arm talent, and I think Fernando Mendoza can make a case to be the absolute top of that arm talent. The whip, just the overall velocity that the ball comes out with, the tight spiral. He's sneaky athletic for his size. So you would think someone that's 6'5", 225 pounds, around that size, at his overall frame, he wouldn't be as athletic as he is, but he is. He senses pressure pretty well, steps up in the pocket. He didn't have the greatest Week 1 showing, but he's slowly but surely coming into his own at Indiana. He has quite a few weapons to throw to as well over there. So I think he's going to have a fine season. I think he's going to firmly solidify himself as a top 10 pick. So we're going to take Fernando Mendoza here at number 9. Then the Cleveland Browns with their second pick in the first round already, their second pick in the top 10. We took Drew Aller at number 1. We're going to back that pick up here with Spencer Fano. The tackle situation is pretty dire in Cleveland. You have Jack Conklin on the right, who has been injury prone the last couple of years. Dawad Jones took a massive step back after a very promising rookie season. I think you go out and you get potentially the best tackle in the entire draft class. So we're going to protect our number 1 asset in Drew Aller with a number 1 left tackle in Spencer Fano. Moving on, To number 11 here, you have the Los Angeles Rams. And I think it's time, especially, I think the Rams really loaded themselves up quite well in terms of building towards the future. I do think that with one of these two first round picks, a quarterback will be the pick. Matthew Stafford, especially this offseason and this preseason coming into it, you had to feel like he was at his most brittle, at his most unhealthy. We've seen him in quite a long time. I do think the end is near. If it's not this year, it's definitely going to be next year. I think the end is certainly near for future Hall of Famer Matthew Stafford. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to draft his successor. We're going to draft Garrett Nussmeier. And really, the only reason why I'm making this selection is I'm a little bit lower on Nuss than I think the consensus. I think he's great. I love the gunslinger mentality, but he's got middling tools to me. Like, besides for having a cannon of an arm, he's not overall that accurate. His decision making lacks at sometimes. He's not very consistent when it matters most. I think there's a lot. He leaves a lot to be desired. But there's also a reason why those guys are NFL scouts, and that's why I'm talking to you through a microphone on YouTube. So they see something obviously that I don't in Garrett Nussmeier, or at least yet. I mean, evaluations can change, absolutely. I've been wrong so many times before. I've been right quite a few times as well. So things can change as the season goes on. But for right now, I think Nuss is the closest quarterback in this class to Matthew Stafford. And I think that it's such a flawless transition from Matthew Stafford to Garrett Nussmeier. Maybe besides for the size, obviously, Matthew Stafford's a little bit bigger than Nussmeier. I think his measurables are like 6'1", 200 pounds. So not the greatest overall measurables for a quarterback, but not terrible in any way, shape, or form. But Nuss is going to be my pick at number 11. That was the Atlanta Falcons pick. At number 12, you have the Dallas Cowboys, who desperately need help off the edge. You have Sam Williams as your left defensive end and Donovan Ezriaku as your right. And honestly, I was thoroughly unimpressed from what I saw from Ezriaku in week one. He was consistently getting pancaked. Anytime that there was some kind of big play for Saquon Barkley or any type of rushing play, it seemed like Ezriaku was just on the ground every single time. So obviously one game does not make or break a player, but I think it could have been a better showing from the former defensive player of the year. What? Oh, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank where Boston College is. Big Ten, right? Is it the Big Ten? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. I believe it. No, not Big Ten. I'm sorry. The ACC. Yeah, so the ACC co-defensive player of the year or defensive player of the year. One of the two. He had like 16 and a half sacks last year. He was awesome. Fantastic athlete as well, but I think there's a lot to be desired. I think they desperately need to upgrade. And again, this is another team that has 2 first-round picks. There's quite a few teams that actually have 2 first-round picks. So I think we are going to upgrade the pass rush here. And we're going to take TJ Parker. 12 sacks last year. He's been really good so far this year, especially in run defense. He's got like a 30% stop rate through 2 weeks. And I know, it's not a crazy high sample size, but against Troy, against LSU, so you got one really, really good opponent in there. He's a phenomenal player, 12 sacks last year. I think he had 8 the year before. He's got a sack already. He's racking up everything you could ask for a fully complete edge rusher at the NFL level. So we're going to take TJ Parker here at number 12. At number 13, you have the New England Patriots, and it would make sense to take a wide receiver here, right? You have your pick of the litter at number 13. We haven't taken a single wide receiver off the board. You got some awesome talent here. You got Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Denzel Boston. I think are all first round quality talents. Same thing with Chris Bell. I think is a player that's going to be very, very highly rated when the time comes. At number 13, though, I'm going to take Francis Mauigoa here. I just think that solidifying the offensive line for Drake May is so imperative. This is arguably the best right tackle in the class. I think it makes a ton of sense. They've really, for the most part, have completely revamped the offensive line on the left side. I think it's time to go out and get your right tackle of the future. I know it's weird. You drafted a left tackle and Will Campbell at number 4 overall this past year. Now you're going to take another offensive lineman in the first round. But I really do think that Mauigoa and Campbell would be an unbelievable duo for the next decade plus. At number 14, you have the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm in baseball mode. I was about to say the Seattle Mariners. You have the Seattle Seahawks here at number 14, and there's a number of different ways you can go here. I think that they do need help at the wide receiver position. They could use a tackle. They could still use interior offensive line. They could use a corner. There's a lot of different ways that you can go for the Seahawks. I'm not going to go any of those ways, though. I'm going to take Keldrick Falk here. You want to talk about someone that is just uber athletic for his size, 6'6", 285 pounds, wears it extremely well. I would not, from just looking at him through the TV, I would not know that that guy is 285 pounds in Keldrick Falk. A fantastic overall. Really, it's a toss-up between TJ Parker and Keldrick Falk for me, who is the more complete edge rusher. I think that these guys are really like 1A, 1B, and the difference is marginal, honestly. But I don't think that the Seahawks pass rush is as good as it could be. They used a second round pick a few years back on Derek Hall. Boye Mafe. I believe Uchenna Nwosu is still on the team. They have DeMarcus Lawrence as well, but that is a short-term option there. I think you get a disruptive pass rusher in Keldrick Falk here at number 14, and you kind of solve an issue that it looks like they've been trying to solve for quite a few years now. At number 15, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe this is the third time I'm saying this. Maybe the Steelers don't need a quarterback. No, that's not true. I think Aaron Rodgers actually came out before the season and said that this year would be his last regardless. But yeah, he threw for 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards in week 1. He looked very, very good. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm going to go in an interesting direction here. I am going to take a quarterback, probably not one that you guys are thinking. I'm going to take Sawyer Robertson here. I kind of hinted at it earlier in the video. I think Robertson is an unbelievable player. I really do. He is the sole reason why Baylor is even in consideration to win a couple these games that they played. It's why that they were close to beating Auburn. He's why they beat SMU. He's the only one single-handedly keeping them in these games. He's got over 800 passing yards and 7 touchdowns already this year. Granted, he does have quite a bit to throw to. He has some really nice weapons. He has Kobe Prentice. He has Michael Trigg. He's got Bryson Washington coming out of the backfield as well. Yeah, he's got a really nice team around him, except on the defense side. But Sawyer Robertson can absolutely sling it. Downfield accuracy, he's awesome. Big time throws. He steps up in the pocket, processes well, consistently moving his feet. I don't know why more people are. I think maybe it's the Baylor offense that some people are kind of reluctant to say, hey, this guy's actually pretty damn good. But I am not one of those guys. I think Sawyer Robertson's an absolute stud. And I think when it's all said and done, I do think he is going to wind up being a first-round pick in 2026. Moving on to number 16, halfway through here, you have the Minnesota Vikings. And at the time of recording, we haven't seen the Minnesota Vikings play ball yet. We don't know how their defense is going to look. But I was kind of worried that going into the offseason and really throughout the draft, the Minnesota Vikings, they loaded up their front seven. They loaded up their front seven on the defense, and they drafted well on the offensive line. They do have a complete offensive line now, in my opinion, and they have a really good front seven. But they didn't add anything essentially on the back end, and that really, really worried me. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add Mansour Delaney here from LSU. He's been unbelievable for the first 2 weeks. He was a Virginia Tech transfer this year and has stepped up in a big way. Completely shut down Clemson in week 1. I believe he was targeted 7 times, only gave up 1 catch for 11 yards. He was unbelievable. He showed some cornerback 1 traits in that game, and he continued it in week 2 as well. He's a really, really nice player. Physical, big-er side, 6'1", 190 pounds, but plays a lot heavier than that. I think he's an awesome player. And again, this is a player that I'm kind of projecting is going to be better than some people think right now. But I think Mansour Delaney, I'm trying to switch my philosophy into looking more towards the future instead of the now. And I think Delaney is a player that over time, his stock is just going to keep going up and up and up. And he's going to be one of the best man cover corners in the class when it's all said and done. At 17, you have the Miami Dolphins. And I never get the Miami Dolphins right. I think they're going one way, they go a different way every single time. So I'm going to try and think like the Dolphins here. You have no secondary. That was pretty evident today, letting Daniel Jones throw all over you. You have no secondary. Your pass rush is injured for the most part, even though I do love Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, all those guys. Offensive line is still not complete yet. The wide receiver core is definitely going to be not great after this year. Jalen Waddle, I would say at this point in his career, especially after being drafted, number 6 overall, is pretty disappointed. To be honest with you, I think I wouldn't label him as a bust, but I don't think that he is all that they thought he was going to be. Tyreek Hill is as good as gone at this point, and where does that leave you? That leaves you with really nothing. That leaves you with semi-retired Darren Waller and Malik Washington and guys like that. No, we're going to take a wide receiver. We're going to take Jordan Tyson here at number 17. Just overall, I think he's the best wide receiver in the class. He's a vertical threat, can take screens. He accelerates really, really well. He reminds me of like a slimmer version of DK Metcalf, the way that he accelerates. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Tyson. Basically carried the Arizona State offense last year, and he's awesome. I'm going to take Jordan Tyson here at 17. We're going to have a little bit of run. We're going to have a run of wide receivers here, I think. At number 18, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming into his own for the Arizona Cardinals. He scored a touchdown today, had a couple of really nice plays. Behind that, I mean, Michael Wilson is a nice 3. I don't really believe in him as a number 2, to be honest with you. And you have Trey McBride. Let's add another dynamic wide receiver to the mix here. We're going to add Makai Lemon here from USC. This guy is unreal. Ball tracking ability, route running ability. This guy has it all. Speed, just big. He's a big play waiting to happen all the time. Finally took a really nice step in the second game of the year. This year was fantastic. I love him as a player. I think he's someone that you could line up all over the formation, in the slot, out wide, gadget type of wide receiver. He's someone that is just so dynamic, and I think he'd add an extra layer of just explosiveness to this Arizona Cardinals offense that should be a lot better than they were last year. So we're going to add Makai Lemon here at 18. At number 19, I wanted to go a couple different ways. I was thinking linebacker, but then I was kind of hesitant because I don't really know. The defense is just so complete for me. Then I was like, all right, let me go to the offensive line. Oh, maybe they could use an upgrade at center. No, not really. The offensive line is good. Maybe you draft Garrett Bowles' replacement, maybe in like the second round. A developmental tackle, maybe. I'm thinking wide receiver. Why not make this offense more dynamic for Bo Nix? I know they drafted Pat Bryant in the 3rd round. They drafted Troy Franklin in the 4th round the year before. I get it that they have weapons. I do. I get it. But why not get someone else? Why not get someone that could potentially be a wide receiver 1? And I'm enamored with Chris Bell. I think he is one of the most underrated wide receivers in this class for Louisville. 6'2", 220 pounds, a monster down the field, a contested catch fiend. This kid is really good. And admittedly, this was someone that going into the college football season wasn't really on my radar that much. I was like, yeah, he's good. He can make some plays, but there's a lot of wide receivers that can. But man, you look into it a little bit more. He's a beast. He really is. I think he's another one of those players that as the time goes on, he's going to be viewed as one of the top. And this is a wide open wide receiver class. Really, outside of Jordan Tyson and Makai Lemon, I really think that there's a fight for the rest of the spots in the top 5. And I'm not as high on Carnell Tate as a lot of people are. I don't really think he's that great, to be honest with you. Moving on to number 20, we have the Houston Texans here, and I'm going to take a running back. I'm going to take Jeremiah Love. I just think I like Woody Marks. I like him as a sleeper pick later on in the rounds in the 2025 class for them. Their backfield is a mess. Dar Ogunbowale is in his 30s. Nick Chubb is in his 30s and on like his 5th knee. Joe Mixon, when he comes back, is probably going to be down a step or two. It's time to get younger. It's time to get more bruising, more physical in the backfield. I think Jeremiah Love would make a lot of sense for this offense. It would add such great balance because you have an unbelievable passing attack on paper. You have C.J. Stroud, you have Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Christian Kirk, Dalton Schultz. They have weapons. They just have no balance on their offense right now. So I do think Jeremiah Love would be an instant impact player for the Houston Texans. At number 21, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, who are coming off of quite the Week 1 victory in Sao Paulo, Brazil, over division rivals Kansas City Chiefs. I am going to go again, maybe another controversial pick here. I'm going to take Chandler Rivers here at number 21. I think Chandler Rivers would be an excellent addition to this Chargers team. Tarheeb Still was an unbelievable find for them. He's going to be a sensational player. You have Cam Hart on the other side. These are two later round guys that have really blossomed into some fantastic players for the Los Angeles Chargers. They have quite a few free agents coming up in the secondary. Why not replace them with Rivers, who has lined up everywhere for Duke and is exceptional everywhere he lines up. One of the best overall tacklers from the cornerback position, physical, sticky in coverage. He's someone that I think you could put right in the slot, and he's going to excel right away for that Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter defense. At number 22, you have the Washington Commanders. Again, another team that you could kind of go a multitude of different ways. Remy Tunsil kind of feels like more of a stopgap than anything right now. I am not going to address the offensive line. They did draft Josh Connerly as well. So, eventually I'm sure he'll slide over to left tackle when it's all said and done. I'm going to look at the defensive line here. And there's a player that I think would fit really nicely in this Washington Commanders front seven. That's going to be David Bailey from Texas Tech. The former Stanford transfer is just a player that I think is so heady, so smart, savvy, can get after the quarterback, can play run defense extremely well. He's just an overall really, really great player. He's not someone that, you're going to look at the end of the year and you're going to be like, oh, David Bailey, 17 sacks. But he's going to be one of those guys that, double-digit sacks, a really, really solid run defender, up there in pressure. He's very disruptive off the edge, and in more of a traditional 4-3 defensive end, kind of the way that I know that Dan Quinn likes to rotate his interior defensive players. I know that you're going to get two defensive ends with their hand in the ground on either side of those rotating defensive tackles. So I think David Bailey fits in kind of perfectly for what Washington is looking for. At number 23, you have the Bengals. This is so evident to me. You need to address the secondary desperately. Avion Terrell is still sitting here. You draft Avion Terrell. Guy is awesome. Could make a case to be the number one cornerback taken in this class. Moving on to number 24. I'm not even going to say more about that. I think the linebacking core of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needs to be addressed, needs to be upgraded. I like Servassier Dennis. I think that was a really nice find for them a couple of years ago. Levante David cannot keep getting away with this. He cannot keep aging and playing this well. It needs to stop. I'm not saying that really. He's literally one of the most underappreciated players in NFL history. The guy has been unbelievable for well over a decade now. But I do think there comes a time where you do need to draft his successor. And I think the only linebacker that I have going at the time of recording in the first round is going to be CJ Allen. Guys, I love Sonny Styles. I think that he is so lowly ranked here. I think Anthony Hill Jr. is an unbelievable player as well. But I think CJ Allen just brings exactly what Levante David can bring to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, except with a heightened sense of athleticism too. And I can't pass that up. So we're going to take CJ Allen here at number 24. Number 25, you have the San Francisco 49ers. I think a tackle is really in play here. I've been saying it for quite some time, but I think it's more evident this time than any. Isaiah World is a player that I'm really excited about. He was my tackle number 3, I want to say. When I did my tackle rankings, I think he was tackle 3. Tackle 3 or tackle 4, coming from Nevada, going to Oregon. Has actually made a pretty nice transition so far. He's played very well up until this point. He's a player that 6'8", 320 pounds, brings some very daunting size. I would love to see him add a little bit more weight. That's what I love about it, is his frame allows him to kind of play either side of the ball. If you want him to gain 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and stick on the left side, he can do that. If you want him to stay slim and stay agile, you could kick him out to the right. I think he gives the San Francisco 49ers much needed long-term outlook and stability for the tackle position. So I'm going to take Isaiah World at number 25. At number 26, you have the Los Angeles Rams in their second first-round pick of this mock draft. We're going to go to the cornerback room, and we're going to take DJ McKinney here. One of the more underappreciated corners in this class. This is a very solid cornerback class. And I think McKinney is one of the guys that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. He gets lost in the hyperbole and the hullabaloo that is surrounded by Colorado. And I'm not saying that that's Deion Sanders' fault. It's just the media trying to take a dig at Deion Sanders at any chance that they get. So I feel like their players get ostracized for the fact that they're guilty by association, essentially, when it comes to Deion Sanders, or what is perceived to be a negative version of Deion Sanders, which I don't think is at all. I love his saying that he's growing men, not growing players, or it's something along those lines. I love the fact that he really seems like he cares about these young men and he wants to develop them as people rather players. I love that about Deion Sanders, and I think that gets overshadowed a lot. But I think DJ McKinney is awesome. He's had a fabulous start to the year. He's been unbelievable to the start of the year. Very quietly, has an interception, extremely sticky in coverage. I think he's been really, really good so far. They played Georgia Tech. They played Delaware. Georgia Tech is not an easy team. He was awesome for them against Georgia Tech. So this is a player that I think is, again, going to continue to rise and rise and rise as the draft process goes on. At number 27, again, another team with their second first-round pick in the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go a little weird here, a little funky. Am I the only one that thinks Jonah Coleman has a shot to be the number one running back in this draft class? I mean, everyone ran away with Jeremiah Love, but Jonah Coleman started off the year essentially as like running back 3, running back 4. He has definitely closed the gap on running back 1. He has looked unbelievable through the first couple weeks of the college football season. So explosive, so versatile, so athletic. I love him. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. I really do. I think we're going to see 2 first-round running backs this year, and I think Jonah Coleman makes a lot of sense. I would love him. So Javonte Williams had a really good week 1. We didn't really see too much of Miles Sanders. Jadon Blue was out. If you could get those 2 veterans out of there with those 1-year deals and you can usher in a Jonah Coleman and Jadon Blue backfield, that is a super athletic, super versatile backfield that could potentially take you to the heights of the Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott days of 2016. At number 28, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they really do need help off the edge. George Karlaftis, they gave him a huge extension, but I just don't get it. He's a decent run defender at that, but besides for a couple of explosive plays in the Super Bowl every once in a while, I feel like he doesn't really do too much. He doesn't do what you would want from an edge rusher that's making like $20+ million. And then Mike Dana on the other side is solid, but I think you could use an upgrade. There's a player that's been really good so far this year, and I keep saying so far this year like we played so much, but I think Danny Dennis Sutton has been awesome for the Penn State Nittany Lions, and I think that he is another player that is overall. I mean, look at these numbers. I looked at these numbers before. Look at that 93.2 overall grade, 1 sack, 3 hits. He's been awesome so far. 71 defensive snaps in a situational role. Essentially, he's been great. I think he's going to be one of those players that's going to be a demon in that. It looks like the Kansas City Chiefs over the past few years have kind of tried to find that situational pass rusher. They did it with Felix Anudike-Uzomah out of Kansas State a few years ago. They drafted him 32 overall. Didn't really work out. I feel like they're still searching for that player, and I think Danny Dennis Sutton could really be that player. At 29, you have the Detroit Lions here, and I think a huge upgrade over Graham Glasnow at the center position is needed. I think offensive line for them really is needed. So you have Tate it's an unproven line. You have Penei Sewell, who is an all-pro. Then you have Tate Ratledge, who's a rookie, who's starting. On the other side, you have Christian Mahogany. You have Graham Glasnow starting at center. And then you have Taylor Decker, who could be upgraded over when it's all said and done as well. But I love Connor Lew. I think this guy is just such a stud. So athletic, so powerful. He's going to be one of the next great centers in football. Him and Jake Slaughter, I think, are like locks to be first-round picks this year. Yeah, Lew is also someone that could easily kick out to guard as well. I mean, the numbers aren't going to necessarily impress you, at least grade-wise. But if you watch him play, 1 sack he's given up so far. Look at the amount of snaps he's played at center in his career, too. 1 sack given up. He doesn't allow a ton of pressures either. He's a really, really solid player. The only game they have graded is against Baylor as well, so not the easiest task for Connor Lew, but he's an awesome player, a stud, super athletic, and I think he's going to be a really awesome player. And we know that the Detroit Lions and Brad Holmes, they really, really prioritize that offensive line. And it's been so good for so long, they don't want it to get away from them. The Baltimore Ravens are up next at number 30. And there's a player that's in this draft class that just screams Baltimore Raven to me. And that's going to be D'Angelo Pons. Again, another player that I don't know why he's so far. Look, you want to talk about numbers? Look at these grades over 3 years. Look at these grades. Look at the yards. Never allowed over 263 yards. I mean, the guy is really good. Now, it's the size. 5'9", 173 pounds is not ideal. But that scrappy, physical, he's so physical. He plays so much bigger than 5'9", 173 pounds. That's that Raven mentality that I'm talking about. And also, while the Ravens are essentially playing with house money, where they still have Marlon Humphrey, they also have a healthy year of TJ Tampa. They just drafted Malachi Starks. They have Kyle Hamilton. They're not yearning for defensive. They have Jair Alexander now. They're not yearning for corners, but I think D'Angelo Ponz is someone that could slowly but surely get ushered in as a slot corner, as a boundary corner for them, and really, really play well. And who better to learn from than a lot of those guys? So I'm going to take D'Angelo Ponz here at number 30. At number 31, you have the Philadelphia Eagles, and there was a couple things apparent here. I love Caleb Banks here. I just think there's such a logjam at the interior of the defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe seeing how bad their red zone run defense was once Jalen Carter got thrown out of the game could scare them into taking another player this high for the defensive line. I think edge is a huge need for them. We know that Howie Roseman, the GOAT, in my opinion, or at least one of them, he's one of the best GMs in football history. I just don't think that there's any way, shape, or form where you can't say that he's not. I think a long-term right tackle is imperative for them. Lane Johnson is not getting any younger. I know that he's still an all-pro at this level, but he could walk away as soon as the end of this year. I think Jennings Dunker is one of the best right tackle prospects in football. He's mean. He's nasty. He's a redheaded ginger that just looks like, remember Cody Mock a couple of years ago? He got drafted and he just looked like an offensive lineman. That's someone that you don't want to see with their helmet off. That's exactly what Jennings Dunker looks like too. He's an awesome player, and I think Howie Roseman is really going to prioritize the offensive line. I feel like they've kind of sort of neglected it in the draft the last few years, but it just always works out for them. It really does. And I think Dunker is going to be a really nice long-term successor to Lane Johnson. And then with the last pick of this week 1 mock draft, I'm going to take Jake Slaughter here because the lack of turnover for this Buffalo Bills offensive line is kind of laughable at this point. They've held together like glue for so long. Mitch Morse did retire, though. Connor McGovern is taking over as the short-term center. They need a long-term center. You want to keep they've had statistically one of the best offensive lines in football over the last 5 years. Why wouldn't you want to keep that up? And the weak link on the offensive line is the center position. And Connor McGovern, that's not a knock on McGovern. I'm just saying that that's how good the rest of the offensive line is. I think Jake Slaughter would be an unbelievable find, especially at the back end of the first round for the Buffalo Bills. And he would really solidify that offensive line as probably the best overall unit in football. And just like that, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is my first round mock of the 2025 NFL season and the 2026 draft cycle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Again, this will be coming out every Monday. It will be Mock Draft Monday. It will be coming out after the NFL games, except for the Monday night game, have commenced. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.